And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. Always a busy day. And of course, back-to-back shows coming up today, too. We'll have one tomorrow, then off to Nashville for the Keith Whitley Memorial Show coming up this weekend in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, here on the Backstage Pass, powered by the Sports Guys Podcast.com. And of course, out there, affiliates, the HighTideCountry.net in Oklahoma and KKTC True Country 99.9. And always pleased to have this gentleman back. The new album is Damascus across all those streaming platforms. The great Elvie Shane to the program. Elvie, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. I appreciate it. I don't know how great I am, but I'll take it if you want to say it.
Well, hey, let's start right there because I'm going to say great because that song we were just talking about off air there went viral too. And I was telling you a story that one of my family members, my sister-in-law too, and it's just great to see that some people just are never able to have children. And this particular song that was 2020, My Boy, and of course you did a My Girl version too as well. But man, what a song for you to go viral, and what a song to bring people to tears. And that's what music does, man. It's just it brought her to tears. They adopted 3 beautiful babies, no doubt, 2 boys and a girl. And she told me to tell you off air and on air how much this song has meant to her, and I know it's meant a lot to your career.
Man, I try to use the 3 H's when I go into whether or not I'm going to put a song out in the world. I feel like a song should hurt you, heal you, or help you have a hell of a time. So I guess there's 4 H's there. But yeah, man, I appreciate it. There's been many nights, I've been playing that song for a long time, and I'm only human. So there's nights where I'm like, I'm gonna skip My Boy tonight, and then I'll run into somebody before the show, just walking around, and they'll stop me and they'll tell me how that song, touched them or affected their lives. And I'm like, well, I guess we're going to play My Boy. We'll continue to do it for them as long as they want to hear it.
That's all it's about, the country music fans, brother. Like I said, that's so important to just share out there with people how important it is. They buy the tickets to the show. They're the ones that buy the merchandise and stuff like that. I know it's great for you guys to be back now that we're kind of in the swing of things, or at least have been for probably a year and a half now, back on stage, doing what you love to do, and just seeing people come to the shows again, right?
Yeah, it's great, man. We've started to get a little busy. I could stand to be busier, but I took a lot of time off last year. My head and my heart was just messed up, man. I needed to get them right. So I took a little time off the road, spent some time with my daughter, my son, my wife, and we hit it back. We just hit it back a couple months ago, and well, I guess we've been going since February now. Hell, it feels like just a couple months ago. But yeah, just trying to get out there and spread the word and tell the truth as loud as we can,
Yeah, we had come off a busy CMA week up there too, and going back, of course, this weekend for a big Keith Whitley Memorial Show too. Talk about just the sound and a guy like that. We lost a great one in Toby Keith earlier this year, and man, looking back at all these great singers that have done so much for country music, and you have a lot of influence in your music to where you can kind of mix the modern day sound with the 90s country sound. And tell us a little bit about you growing up and kind of what artist impacted you as a current artist.
I would say the 2 biggest impactful artists as a kid were Steve Earle and John Fogerty. More John Fogerty's solo stuff, Blue Moon Swamp, Gunslinger. But Steve Earle, just about every record he put out when I was a kid, from, Guitar Town, Exit O to everything he's ever done, I also, rode around with my mom a lot when I was a kid in the old Ford Taurus, listening to nothing but 90s country on the radio. So Toby was a huge part of that, obviously. Tim McGraw, Clint Black, Dwight Yoakam was another big influence. Toby was the first artist that I ever went out and opened up for. So he held a special place in my heart. And Toby was good to us. He told me I was a bad mother trucker. He didn't say trucker, but he told me that the night I was leaving last time I played with him, and I was like, the man said so himself. I gotta accept it. And then I thought he forgot who it was, and I went to his Songwriter Hall of Fame induction, and he slapped me on the ass. He said, "You're still a bad mother." And he gave me a challenge coin. And I was like, "Dang, you remember me?" So that was pretty cool, man. Yeah, we lost a great one. I just played a show in Florida a couple of weeks ago, and I heard the opener for our set was doing a 90s country medley, and he busted in to Should Have Been a Cowboy, and I crashed the set. I went up there and sang with him. I was like, you got to throw one up for Toby when you get a chance,
No doubt, brother. Hey, take me back to 2021. You mentioned taking some time off last year, but you guys come off a successful album. Of course, My Boy was on there too, and I loved Sundays in the South. I love Cold Beer, Cheap Smoke, which was a song off that record too. Backslider. Talk about this one and just some highlights from the record.
Oh man, we got to go out on the road. Speaking of, 90s country artists and two other ones I didn't mention, but obviously were big influences growing up. Brooks and Dunn, Travis Tritt. Went out on the road with them. My first tour, did the whole tour bus thing and everything, which I'm trying to work myself back into right now. But those things have gotten even more expensive since COVID. We scored, we rung the bell with My Boy, #1. And then I don't know. After we got the #1 and put the record out, man, I thought I was going to be just happy as a lark for a long time. But, on the contrary, I kind of found a rut, and I stayed in it for a while. I'd say about 3-4 months after we put that record out, I probably only sang 2 or 3 songs off of that record at every show that I played, for the year following. And those songs that I felt like it was time for them to be tried. I kind of treated it like a comedian trying a new bit, just going out and trying them out. What I started realizing is, with Backslider, I was very proud of it. It was a nostalgic record, but it was a little softer around the edges than what I would have really liked to have done. But, first time, got a brand new record deal, trying to, be authentic and be myself and put music I'm proud of out, as well as, trying to be mindful of opportunities and the team and what they're going to be able to do with stuff. So we did that, and I just wasn't really 100% happy with the way that I did it. So when it came time to make Damascus, man, we kicked down the walls and tore down the barriers, and for the longest time the answer to recording Damascus was a no, and it got to a point where I had to have a conversation with somebody at the label, and I was like, look, I guess I'm gonna stay in Kentucky and go back to cutting trees or drive a semi truck, because I'm not gonna chase a bunch of stuff that I don't believe in,
Sure.
And I got a phone call a week later, and they were like, well, hey, let's do this record. So, thank you to them for letting me finally do that. But Backslider was very important to me, but it was, I wouldn't say that it was the record that I always wanted to make. I would say Damascus feels more like my first record and my introduction to the world of where I come from and who I am and how I feel about things.
Yeah, I love it too. And like you said, it was the great piece of work. Now we'll talk about it. I love the one off there, man. Had to be just I love Cold Beer and Cheap Smoke. I mean, just one of those two-stepping songs you got to love out there too as well. And one that brings people to their feet, because that's just 3 ingredients right there when you talk about it that make country music what it is, right?
Yeah, we still play. We've continued to play that one. That seems to be a crowd favorite. That one, Sundress. I feel like Sundress should have had its day at radio, and there was a lot of people within the industry that felt the same way, but it never happened. And that was part of the frustration that led into Damascus. But County Roads as well, we continued playing that one a lot, and seems to be a crowd favorite. Those Love Cold Beer and Cheap Smoke and County Roads, they make me remember being a teenager in Grayson County, Kentucky, more than any song on that whole record does.
I loved the last one too. You always look at a song such as "I Will Run" that sets a tone for the record too, and then you end it with just such a great story with Miles, and then parentheses with my mama. Tell us a little backstory of Miles and my mama. I like that.
So my dad's been a truck driver all my life, and so I knew that lifestyle very well. And as I got out on the road doing this, I started to see the similarities. But even more so, I started realizing when I was doing pipeline construction or building pole barns or working on cell towers or whatever throughout my early mid-20s, I was like, it all kind of coincides with each other. So that song was a tribute to the trucking community, but it ended up being so much more than that. It was a tribute to men and women who just have to leave their home and their hometown for 3 to 5 days a week and go out and make a living. And that's the story for a lot of small towns these days, because it's not, there hasn't been a lot of opportunity in small towns for a while. I think that's turning around right now. And we talk about that, but with my mama in parentheses, I didn't like putting featuring on my record. I feel like it's done that way. so many times. So I said with Tennille Towns on Nothing Lasts Forever with my mama. My mama's actually singing harmonies on that song with me. So
Wow.
yeah, it's cool, man. And my dad is the one who speaks in the beginning of it. I got summer school one year, and I remember my dad just being frustrated. It was hot. We was working on a semi truck, and he just got frustrated about something. He's like, "Man, you got to learn something, or you're gonna be out here, busting your ass in this hot gravel working on a semi truck all the rest of your life." That always stuck with me. So, but I do want to touch on the opportunities that I feel like have been gone for so long in the small towns are starting to present themselves. And I try to talk to younger people about getting into trade work, because there's a whole generation of us my age, close to my age. I'm 36 now.
Mm-hmm.
We all got tricked by those TV shows like CSI and everything, made us think that we could go to college and be forensic pathologists and psychologists and all that crap. So we all went to these 4-year colleges and just gained a lot of headache and debt over it. And it left a gap in people learning a lot of trade work, carpentry, plumbing, mechanic work, everything. And I think those, if you're young and mechanically inclined or even the slightest bit interested in those kind of jobs, then you can get apprenticeships or a starting position at these jobs now. And you can really work yourself into a position and learn from people who have been doing it for a long time, 30 plus years, and develop a good living for yourself and make real good money doing it too.
No doubt, too. And like I said, I love this other record. We're going to talk about coming back here with Elvie Shane, Damascus, the record he wanted to make. He got to make there and put out this past April here on the Backstage Pass. We'll take a quick time out, pay a tribute to sponsors that keep the program possible out there, too. And, of course, we'll be back in Goodlettsville, Tennessee with honoring the late, great Keith Whitley coming up this weekend with a beautiful golf tournament Friday. And, of course, the Keith Whitley Memorial Show at the Patron Center, Goodlettsville, Tennessee, coming up Saturday night with a host of great country artists out there, too. So if you're playing in the golf tournament or you're coming out there to see us Saturday, we're going to be backstage at the concert here on the Backstage Pass. See how that works there? It's a double-edged sword right there. Back here with Elvie Shane talking more about Damascus here on the show. Quick timeout for our sponsors here on HighTideCountry.net and our friends at KKTC, True Country 99.9. Stay tuned.
The Caden Gordon Show is a 2-hour show playing the best in country music. So check it out at thecadengordonshow.com. Again, that is thecadengordonshow.com.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here on the show, too, double shot coming up today, too. If you guys are classic rock fans, stick around about 3:30 today. Scott Holt coming here on the show with the group Foghat. If you love Foghat back in the 70s, Scott Holt coming up here in a little bit here. Back here with Elvie Shane on the program here, talking about Damascus and a whole lot of country music here on HighTideCountry.net and our friends at KKTC, True Country 99.9. So, you talked about it being the record Damascus that you wanted to make, too. Man, you got the call. Y'all stepped in there, and I'm telling you, man, everything on here was blow it out of the water. Like, I mean, What Do I Know? And of course, Joneson with Jenna McClellan. Forgotten Man. This was great music, man. Awesome.
Thank you, brother. I started realizing early on as we started playing these songs out live before they were recorded with Backslider, we would get a standing ovation quite often with My Boy.
Mm-hmm.
We started playing these songs and we play Forgotten Man and get one. And we play Baptized and get one. We play What Do I Know and get one. Does Heaven Have a Creek and get one. And it's just like, man, people are really responding to this a lot differently. And the process for this record was struggle, man. And it was also what I was seeing a lot of in the world. And so I just decided to ride in that. I remember driving back from Alabama after we wrote the first 3 or 4 songs for the record. And I was going through some stuff myself, but I just remember having a conversation with God and being like, hey, man, I feel like I need to go down this road. Just don't let me go too far. And, you know, it was just like, all right, buddy, if that's what you feel like you need to do, it might not be what you need to do, but if that's what you feel like you need to do, I'll just be over here waiting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I definitely teetered on the edge of going too far a couple times, but because of that, was able to really tap into the stuff I was trying to write about, the emotions I was trying to evoke, and the people that I was trying to reach with the songs. And the video work too. I would beg anybody out there that likes the music, go watch the videos that we've done for this stuff, especially, what do I know? It's election season. There's enough musicians out there in the world. I'm not trying to add to it. You know, I've got my views on things, and sometimes it's my business and don't need to be anybody else's. And I just save it for the polls, you know, or the voting room or whatever. But what do I know? If you watch the video of that, I think there's definitely some room to learn of direction we could be moving in if you watch the video. So.
Excuse me. Talk about also too. First Place was another one. Little Big Town got a chance to collaborate with the group on there too.
I sent him a drunk text from a cabin in Pigeon Forge at 1 o'clock in the morning, a video of us playing that song right after we wrote it. And I sent Karen Fairchild one because I'd met her once before when I was out on the road writing with the Cadillac Three Boys. And I sent her that video. I was like, hey, you know, it'd be really cool if y'all sang on this if you like it. And the next morning I woke up with a headache, a hangover, and a message from Karen Fairchild saying, we love it. Let's do it. And oh man, what a pleasure to work with those guys. They're just good people, man. They're just good people. And prime example of like, you don't have to agree with everybody on every topic in the world to be able to mutually respect each other and have a good time and do something good for people. That song to me is a tribute to just people working hard, putting in a first place effort and still feeling like they're coming in last all the damn time, you know? And those guys came in, they did the harmonies, and I intended on them to do more on the song than just background vocals and harmonies, but they paid so much attention to detail and getting the parts right and experimenting with the parts that we ran out of time and wasn't able to really do anything else. But I'm happy with how it turned out, and super proud that I had the opportunity to work with such a great group.
Like I said, multi-award-winning group, been around for a lot of years and still on those major award shows, still making their impact in a number of those categories out there. All right, I know there's a great story to this, man, because there's always a great time and a place where a song just comes together or an idea or a hook. And I was like, man, this is being on my side of religion. I don't talk religion and politics. That's just for, like I said, me to know and nobody else to find out about unless I post something, or like you said, leave it where it is. But man, kudos to just Heaven Have a Creek. Unbelievable job. And what a way to tell a story.
Thank you, brother. I was just missing my granny, my great grandma, Granny Verbal Huff. She left us in a car accident when I was 14 years old. She was on her way home from Walmart with quilting materials, and she evidently was in a hurry to get there because she was running about 80 miles an hour and passed somebody and ended up, causing a bad wreck that took her life. But she taught me my first 3 chords on guitar, E, A, and B. And she handed me a Roger Miller's Greatest Hits CD and said, you can learn any of these songs with those 3 chords if you want to. And I was sitting outside of my camper. We were finishing up the record, actually. And I was sitting outside of my camper. I just remember looking up at the sky and thinking, Granny, does heaven have a creek where I can swim in my old blue jeans? We had this little creek down across the holler when I grew up, Pine Knob Creek over there. We'd go over there and hike over there during the day and just jump in our blue jeans and walk them dry on the way back home, And those are some of my best memories, sitting out on the porch with my granny on Saturdays after I mowed her yard, or hiking the woods with my brother over to Pine Knob and going to the swimming hole. And I was thinking, I've been told heaven's a lot of things. On the contrary here, man, I don't mind talking about my faith or my belief. I don't like getting into politics, but I don't mind talking about the other, because it's just such a big part of who I am. You just heard me talking about Jesus and then telling a story about sending a drunk text all within the same 20 seconds a while ago. And that's just who I is. Like it, lump it, take it up, straighten up, whatever you need to do. But I feel like people have been pushed away a lot for a lot of the wrong reasons. And I would like for the good old boys and good old girls out there like me to know that there's a hymn for them as well. And to me, that hymn is Heaven Have a Creek.
I love that song, no doubt about it, too. And it really paints a picture of what's to come, no matter what your belief is or what denomination you are, man. It really makes you think about the other side after the afterlife, no doubt about it, too. We'll take a time out here, come back, talk about Forgotten Man. There's another one of my favorite songs called 215-634. It's on that album, too, on Damascus from Elvie Shane here. Quick time out, of course, coming back. Scott Holt coming up, the group Foghat here about 3:30 Central Time today, and a whole lot more. We got one show tomorrow, then we're off to Nashville for 4 days there. Back again, as if CMA Fest week wasn't enough up there after all the coverage we did, too. Crazy enough, twice in a month. I've rarely gone back to Music City, but always a great time. We get down there, too. And, of course, the Keith Whitley Memorial Show coming up this Saturday night at the Patron Center in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. We'll be there broadcasting backstage and having some great artists join us there. And I've heard there might be a Lori Morgan appearance, maybe a surprise birthday party. We're not sure of that, can't confirm it, but if she is, we hope to get her here on the show. She's also got a new album coming out this Friday, too, as well, from the great Lori Morgan. Coming back with Elvie Shane, final segment coming up. Stay tuned. HighTideCountry.net and our friends, KKTC True Country 99.9. Stay tuned.
The Caden Gordon Show, today's best country mix, is a 2-hour show playing independent and mainstream country music you know and love. Be sure to check it out at thecadengordonshow.com for more information on the show.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And, of course, you can catch the show Mountain Time, 6 to 7 o'clock there on KKTC, or download that LMNOC streaming app out there, too. And 6, 7 Mountain Time, we're on there 7 days a week with all the great artists we have here. One of our affiliates out there, KKTC, True Country 99.9, and, of course, HighTideCountry.net. Back here with Elvie Shane. You can check out elvieshane.com and go download Damascus across all these streaming platforms. Do it now. And tell them at the Backstage Pass we told you to do it. 2 of them, Forgotten Man and 215-634. 2 outstanding songs that really stand out on that record.
I appreciate that, man. 215-634. Well, let's hit Forgotten Man first. Forgotten Man is a song that I've wanted to write since I was a young man. There's a song off of Guitar Town record that's called Good Old Boy Getting Tough. Just my luck. I was born in the land of plenty. Now there ain't enough, he said, right? And it always stuck with me. And I've felt that. And I feel it even now. So I wanted to write that song. And I've tried so many times, and it always ends up being the same old, red, white, and blue, beers on tailgates, USA kind of stuff. And which is all well and good. And I know people love it. There's no easier way to get a cheer out of the crowd than to say one of those things. But what has made me so proud of my community, my parents, my friends that have just grinded and made a life for themselves is the struggle and the perseverance, man. And I think that song really just highlights, it's a little bit more of a satirical view on, the pride that comes along with being a blue collar and working class. Mm-hmm. It's more of a born in the USA approach, I guess. But we definitely lean into some inspiration from The Who, and Bruce Springsteen and Steve Earle for that song. That was the first song that I debuted off of the Damascus record. We played it live for the first time in Minot, North Dakota at the state fair up there the night after Kid Rock had canceled his set and there was a riot. So the crowd was ready and they were pissed and they was wanting to do something. And so we played that song, man, and the response was just magic. And it's been that way ever since. So yeah, man, that song definitely was a compass for the rest of this record. And Damascus just ended up being a huge project of taking all of my influences, different genres from gospel and rock and country and hip hop, and throwing them all together and, throwing them in the forge and making this Damascus Knife, record that we put out there. that's the theme with the whole record. So when you're listening to stuff, you hear all these different sounds. There's a reason behind it. But Forgotten Man was definitely a guiding light and a compass for that.
I tell you what, it's a great mix of songs. It really is. Like I said, if people hadn't heard the record, they need to go. You like a little bit of everything. There's a little bit of everything on that record for everybody. It really is.
I appreciate that. We had a lot of fun making it. We were finally able to. But 215-634, man. I've either got to. I either have had to live the story or be very close to it before I feel comfortable putting it out in the world. I got to relate in some way. And I've never been to prison. I've been to jail a couple times, but never prison. But I got my oldest childhood friend from where I grew up is serving a pretty hefty sentence for reckless homicide. And if you listen to the second verse of that song, that's his story. He was out on parole. A man been threatening his life. He acquired a gun the way felons do, and the dude kicked in the door on him, put a gun up to his face, allegedly, and my buddy pulled out a gun and shot and killed him, allegedly in self-defense. I don't only know one side of the story, and that's why, and I know both these families, so that's why I try to. But I wanted to tell the story from the perspective of my friend, right, wrong, or indifferent, and so I sit down one day and talked to him on the phone, and he said. One thing he said was, man, they changed my name. I said, what did they change your name to? And he said, 215-634. I thought, dang, man, that just don't sit right with me. I tried to give him some money. He said, hell, brother, I can do this time standing on my head. He said, it's just like the hollers in the streets in here, man. You just got to hustle and make your way. And I was like, dang, keep talking, So when he said that, though, I was like, I don't know what it's like to be stuck in prison and, not know if you're going to be able to ever get out on parole or if you're going to be there till you die. But I do know what it's like to be stuck in the holler, or stuck somewhere you come from that, and have big dreams of being somewhere else and feel like you're stuck there until you get out on parole or, until you die. And that's how I was able to relate to that story. And also I've got to play, I went and played his prison. And played that song for those guys, and it was really amazing to see how that song touched those guys. And now we're working with a organization called Sending Musicians to Prison. We're some more of those shows. I was honored and privileged to speak on a Johnny Cash documentary about a year ago, where I really dove into Johnny Cash and learned everything Johnny Cash, and I was inspired to start doing that as part of our mission, I guess, over here.
No doubt too. And like I said, doing it for a great cause. And what a song. Everybody, those ideas, I love it how songs just come about too. When topics and words and ideas get thrown around, just create some of the best country tunes. Again, you guys check out Damascus across all those DSPs and stream it out there too. Like I said, if you love a little bit of everything, country, rock, and gospel, and man, it just mixes a little everything. Smorgasbord of everything out there too. We'll use that word here on the Backstage Pass. All right, let's have a little fun. I didn't get a chance to catch the new series. Well, I saw one episode of it, I'll say that. But I'm still wrapping up on this. Good TV shows or series that Elvie Shane is getting into. I love this House of Dragon. I'm getting into it, really.
I haven't. I wasn't able to get into that one. Been watching Fire Country a little bit. I started watching Sons of Anarchy again. There's The Gentleman is pretty good. Don't watch a whole lot of TV. Usually my wife is watching something and I just end up kind of halfway paying attention and getting interested and then diving in later on with her. But I mean, I'll be the first one to admit it, since y'all down there in Texas anyway. Chip and Joe is always just good TV to watch. Chip and Joanna Gaines. Yeah, I mean, you can turn them on if you can't find nothing else. They're like a good bologna sandwich. When you can't find anything else, you just make you a bologna sandwich. But I enjoy watching them. They crack me up. But I'm a big Cars. Texas Metal, Iron Resurrection. Both those guys, I think, are car TV shows that are based in Texas as well. So there's a lot in Texas for me, sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to come down there. I'm actually going to talk to my booking agent that works that area. I'm thinking about coming down and setting up a home base at an Airbnb in Texas for like a month, maybe later this year or early next year. Maybe setting up somewhere in Austin and just touring Texas for a whole month, doing clubs in Texas every weekend for 4 or 5 weeks.
I'll tell you, man, you come down here, brother. We got to get together and come out to a show and have a good time with you. No doubt. It's going to be a lot of fun out there too, because I'm only about 3 hours from Austin, and of course, any little town's about an hour from Houston, and about 4.5 to 5 to Dallas. So every little corners there, less than about 5 hours for some of the big cities down here being on the Gulf Coast here. Well, I tell you what, I got to get my hot chicken when I go back. I had Hattie B's during the CMA week, which is really good. But people say I got to try this OG Prince's. Is pretty good too. And what are some of your favorite eating holes there in Nashville?
Oh man, there's a place called Taco Mamacita that I really love. You know, I'm a sucker for just the old school Mexican restaurant. So any kind of just, Las Palmas or anything like that. It's just old cilantro, anything like that. If you like sushi, which I never thought I'd be a sushi guy, but there's a place called Rock and Roll Sushi here in Nashville that is awesome. And all their rolls are named after like the tour bus, the Elvis, the Cash, the Folsom, stuff like that. That's pretty good. But I mean, the best eating in Nashville is usually at my house. So
yes, what to say when you get a chance cooking for yourself, it's usually the best eating you can do compared to some restaurants out there. Can't speak for all.
Anyway.
That's a good stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, it's out there across all the platforms. Damascus, make sure you guys check it out if you haven't already. And, of course, check it out. We'll play some good stuff coming up on this Friday. We're going to play a song off the record on our call-in, KKTC True Country, 99.9, New Mexico, Colorado. So if you guys want to download the show out there, you can check it out and catch this interview in its replay. And we can't tell you what song we're going to play, but we're going to play a song off that record coming up this week on our Double Shot Friday coming up with Shelly in the morning, too, as well. And, of course, out there, HighTideCountry.net. Check him out at elvieshane.com for more information, merchandise, and tour dates and all that good stuff, and the record across all those digital streaming platforms. My friend, always appreciate you dropping us a line here on the show. Much obliged and much love, man. Continued success going forward.
Thank you, brother. God bless y'all. Appreciate it.
Got it. Elvie Shane here on the Backstage Pass coming up here in a little bit. Scott Holt of Foghat will take you back to the 70s, 80s, and find out what those guys have going on here on the Backstage Pass. Just put out a brand new live record across all those platforms. And if you like classic rock, you got to love Foghat. You just got to do it. Scott Holt coming up here a little bit on the Backstage Pass. Until then, take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.